Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I thought we would kick off the planner setups with the first planner that I actually set up and started using for 2025. This is the second week I've been in this. I wanted to move into it quite quickly, basically as soon as the planner that's in here started, because I was itching to change up my everyday carry solution, which had started 2024 as a Passport TN and then had become the Weeks, which I then grew tired of because it was just too big. It wasn't functional enough in terms of storage and things like that. And so yeah, I got this set up as soon as I could and have been in it for a couple of weeks, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Obviously I did try this last year and I think maybe the year before as well, and didn't see out the year both times. I'm hoping with the tweaks that I've made for this year though, I might finally be onto a winner. To cover off the basics, this is just the camel colour. I always cut off the string because I don't find them useful for me, and I've added a little charm that I got free with some sort of purchase of a planner over the years, just because I don't like trying to open this without a charm. I just find holding onto the charm and then kind of pulling off the string is a lot easier than without. Okay, so opening it up, the first thing you see is this mustard yellow canvas pocket. This is a limited edition one that I picked up a couple of years ago, and as you can see, the colour transfer from the leather has been quite extreme. I have actually swapped this over, so I think last year I had this facing here and then I've swapped it over, and yeah, it's pretty instantaneous. So if you are eyeing up one of the lighter coloured canvas pockets, just be aware. It's a thing that happens, like leather colour does transfer, but if you would get bugged by this, maybe go for one of the darker colours. I've got an olive green one in my standard TN and that doesn't look anywhere near as bad because it's obviously a dark colour on a dark colour. Because this is my purse slash everyday carry setup, the canvas pocket is basically the bit of this setup that is the purse. So on the left hand side when you open up, there is the flat pocket that's got two pockets, like two flat pockets, and all I do in here is keep my bank card and my ID in the front one. Not that I ever really need them, but I feel a bit naked going out without them, so they're in there. And then in here, I just have basically any loyalty cards that I might need that aren't electronic at this point for anywhere that I go regularly. And then I do just have a bit of sticker release paper. So if I do pick up anything when I'm out and about sticker wise that might be good for like scrapbooking or memory keeping, I just have something to put it on. Very small thing, doesn't take up a lot of space, but quite handy to have. I'll just talk about the back of this while we're talking canvas pocket. So in here, I've actually changed this up year on year, and inside I basically have kind of essentials from a, I guess, health perspective, well, health and toiletries. So in here I have just a couple of pills that I might need, so like painkillers or anti-sickness tablets, things like that, that I would want to have on me. I then have a hair tie, I have eye drops because I do wear contact lenses and sometimes they can get itchy, so having some eye drops on the go is always handy, and a couple of plasters. And it actually goes in here quite nicely because I do cut down the blister packs to not carry loads, so I only literally have a few of each of the tablets just to have in an emergency, but they don't actually kind of bulk up the pocket too much. So because I was worried when I had this idea that it was going to make this whole thing really massive and unruly, but actually for what I've got in here, that's really neat. There's a few bits that, you know, in an ideal world I'd want to probably keep in here, maybe like spare contact lenses or something like that, but I generally don't go out without kind of something that would carry things like hairbrush and stuff like that. So I do have, you know, other places to put those, but just having kind of, I guess, the more emergency items that might crop up just in this whole kind of setup. I'm really liking it as kind of a concept and it's working so far, and like I say, it's not really bulking up anything too much and it's not really causing any problems with kind of writing on the pages too much. It's because it's still quite flat, it's quite steady. So yeah, good start so far with that little idea and that setup, because certainly the last setup I had with this and the canvas pocket, I don't think I ever really ended up using it for too much because I don't carry cash. I haven't carried cash now for years, so having a good use for this, big tick. Next up we have my monthly calendar. So this is the 2024 cover, but actually I have used the 2025 insert in it. The reason being the 2025 cover was actually red. It was kind of like this colour, and the yellow just obviously matches the whole, you know, theme of this. So yeah, I swapped them over because it doesn't really matter. And yeah, this is just the Midori calendar. It's not marketed as a passport insert, it just happens to be this size and therefore fits nicely in the TN. I really like it because it's just a very simple setup, it's quite cute, but it also has a pen loop which fits the Uniball one, which is my pen of choice of this year that I picked up in Japan, specifically in this colour because I thought it worked really well with the camel and it fits perfectly in the loop. It also does, because of the way that it has the kind of cover, it does mean that I do have extra storage if needed in here. So in the front bit here, for example, I keep my little post-it notes, which are my go-to post-it notes for pre-planning, which I realised I didn't actually see these at all in Japan, so I didn't buy any, which is crazy because it means that I think this is my last pack, so I'm gonna have to get some from somewhere at some point. But it fits perfectly in here, and I basically use these for pre-planning in any of my planners, just for anything that I don't necessarily want to commit to paper, you know, things like work trips that might end up moving that aren't necessarily 100% locked in, but I do want to kind of keep them in my planner. These are great for that. So this storage helps me keep these in here all together rather than kind of using up maybe the zip pocket. And yeah, so it just gives me a little bit of extra space. I think at some point last year when I had this set up, I was putting my bank cards in the back pocket here, just because the flip pocket doesn't, I mean, it's secure, it just, they're a bit loose in there. So if I have an overflow of cards or something like that, I know I can always put my bank card in here and then use this for other things, maybe more loyalty cards or vouchers, because that's another thing actually I haven't mentioned, that this is really handy if I've got any money off vouchers and things like that, I can keep them in here. So yeah, if you do have a Passport TN and you are looking for a nice slim calendar insert, because that's another thing as well, like because it is literally just pretty much 12 months and a few extra pages, it's super slim, doesn't bulk up the planner, and you get the added bonus of a really cool pen loop. And it's a nice thick pen loop as well, like it does, you know, the Uniball one is quite a chunky pen, so the fact that it fits it in, it's not the smoothest to get it in and out, but it's also not the worst, and it's definitely getting better over time. I will see if I can find, because I bought last year's from Miso Paper and this year's I bought in Japan, and when I was looking for it for another video where I mentioned it, I couldn't actually see this listed anywhere, but I will have another look and see if anywhere's got the 2025 version listed for sale. Okay, next up we are talking basically the biggest difference in the setup year on year, other than kind of how I'm using this pocket, and this is the dated week on 2 pages insert from Midori. So part of the reason why this setup fell for me last year is because I was using it as a bullet journal, so I had lots of blank pages that required setting up, or I was using them for kind of scratch notes and I was forgetting that they were there and things like that, and I just thought I need something structured and realised that I should probably just try this insert. I'm not really using it for anything else in terms of, you know, like the extra pages, like these pages, I'm not using them at all. I'm literally just using the weekly pages. This was the first week in this planner, and I actually use this as my main planner because I was keen to kind of just start playing with the layout and get going with this, and thought, you know what, I'm just going to use this as my main planner for the week because the cousin hadn't started yet, which is my main planner for 2025, and didn't want to have like a week in my weeks and have this and it just be a bit all weird and disjointed. So I just went all in, had a play around with the layout and kind of just split it out, home life and Lethbridge paper, and then anything I was writing on here. And actually I really liked it. I liked having just like a messy, scruffy week at a glance that I had on me, you know, to refer to. I've then, because I'm now in the cousin, I have basically not set this up in the exact same way. What I have done is basically put in my events. So in theory, my events will be duplicated between here and here, but sometimes there might be events that I make in week that don't end up on the monthly because they don't need to. They'll just go in here, and obviously the cousin as well. And then the only other bits that I'm writing in here are any tasks that I need to know when I'm out. So shopping lists is a big one. And also I'm using it to make a note of anything that kind of comes into my mind that I need to do when I'm out and about, or I just have this planner in front of me. I'll write it in, and then when I'm back at my desk, I will migrate it into my cousin. So this was something that I thought of when I had this planner in front of me, and I just made a note of it here. I'm also going to be using this once I set up my new kind of way of doing finance and budget tracking for the year. I'm also going to be using this just to track spending. So any spending that I do each day, I will just make a note of the category and the amount. And then what I'll do is each week when I do my budget check-in, add them all up and put it into my weekly check-in amount. So currently how I have my budget is, and how I have the kind of setup is, I have it all in the weeks. Left hand side has the kind of budget and spending plan and things like that, and then the right hand side I basically log every purchase that I make, and then every week I just add up and then just kind of track how I'm going against each category. So the difference will be is that instead of writing each purchase in the weeks, I'll be writing it in here, and then I will be doing my weekly check-ins in my cousin, because that's where the full budget planning will be. And so I'll just be writing in there kind of once a week with the overview of this is what I've spent by category. It's a very different way of doing it for me in terms of splitting it between two planners. We'll see how it goes. For me, it should make more sense, because one thing that I was finding was that I wasn't keeping up to date with it in the week. So I was having to sit down every couple of days and just go through my phone and make sure that I'd logged everything. Whereas because this is actually coming with me everywhere, I should be able to make a note of things in the moment. There should be no reason why I'm spending a few days, or I'm behind by a few days and then have to sit and catch up, because this will be going with me everywhere. Whereas the weeks, particularly towards the end of the year, I wasn't carrying it with me because it was too big. So yeah, that's just a whole side note about expense tracking. I don't think I mentioned the post-it note, the page flag. So this is from the same company that do Cocoa Fusion tabs. I found these in Japan. They're actually fabric, which I am really excited by, because they are still, the same kind of page flags that pull up and move around. But just because they're fabric, they're just a bit more hard wearing. And for something like an EDC that is going to get thrown around in bags, I'm hoping that it means that I can literally just have one for the year and not have it kind of break or get bent. And because particularly with the Cocoa Fusion, because I do tend to just try and keep the tabs for as long as possible before binning them, because they are plastic, the colour does rub off and they do kind of get like bent and tatty and things like that. So I'm hoping this will be a little bit more hard wearing. But that's just a side note, and I think that's the only tab. Yeah, that's the only tab that I'm using in this planner, because these monthlies, they have the kind of tabs built in, which means finding the which means finding the month is dead easy. So keeping it very simple on the tab front, which is very different for me actually. And then the only other thing to mention is my pencil board. So this is just from Travelers Company. It was one of the limited edition? I guess it's part of the yearly range. And I've got this to mark my day as well as the page flag, but it does help if I do need, a bit more stability because of kind of the pills or something. It just gives me that when I'm writing. And I've also kind of repurposed the back for an inbox. So this is a kind of new way of doing an inbox, because I've played with inboxes in the past. I've generally had a page in my cousin dedicated to it, and it's fine, but the problem is I don't refer to it enough. And I was thinking actually having it just on a post-it note attached to my pencil board that lives in my everyday carry every day, I'm hoping that might work a bit better. And the idea being is that, so if I have kind of a task for the week that kind of crops into my head, I'll write it in the week, or if it's kind of for next week, I'll write it in there. That's all fine. But I do have some kind of longer term things. So, a couple of the bits that are on here is around doing wills and setting up an ISA and going to the tip. They're not things I'm going to achieve like in the next couple of weeks. They're things that I probably need to sit down and plan when I'm going to do them. So I've just been adding them to here, and then the idea is that when they finally get planned in at some point, whether it be on the monthly spread of my cousin or just within the week, I'll then just kind of put a line through them, and it just gives me a bit of, I guess, scratch pad just to write down those bigger tasks that come into my head, or that crop up in a conversation, and I'm like, actually I need to get on with that. I'll see how that works over time, but I'm hoping that just having a really visible place to put bigger tasks, or I mean, some of it might not even be that big, it might be something that pops into my head that isn't a for now, it's just that I need to make sure that I capture it somewhere at some point. So at some point, doing my tax return will go in here, maybe work expenses will go in here, like claiming those back, things like that. Just having somewhere that I can capture it, that's a bit of a brain dump, that is going to be always there, that won't get cast aside, that isn't just a random page in my cousin that I then have to remember to go and flick to. It's literally front and center. We'll see, I'll let you know. But that's it for the setup. There's not much I don't think I've really talked about. I've kind of added a bit of decoration, as you've probably seen as I flick through. Nothing mega. I'm not big on doing loads of decoration on my planners. It's all about function, particularly with this one. This is very, very much just something to hold bank cards, emergency kind of health bits, and plans and notes while I'm out and about, and that's it. Hopefully enjoyed the setup. If you do have any questions about any part of it, like I say, I will try and find a link to everything that I've bought so you can kind of see it for yourself, particularly that monthly calendar, because it doesn't really get talked about, and I know quite a few people have commented on it over time. I think on my last video someone commented trying to find that, so I will have another look and drop any links below. But yeah, hopefully enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.